I think, where when George Bush named Harriet Miers as his nominee to the Supreme Court, the conservatives said, no, we're not going to allow that. And they stopped it. They frightened her right out of the nomination. She withdrew and went away. And George Bush had to then name a good conservative to the Supreme Court. That showed the latent power of the conservative movement to affect, as Richard says, as an outside force, what the political parties do. The other instance was last year and this year, when President Bush tried to get Congress to pass his illegal alien amnesty and his ridiculously complex and counterproductive immigration bill. Conservatives killed it. And I think in both instances it showed that really the conservative movement represents the core values of the majority of the American people. It's not, it's not 60%, but it is enough, over 50%, to control the Electoral College, to control the United States Senate, control the House of Representatives, and control the direction of Congress if the conservatives organize in the right way, get energetic enough in the right way, and take back the Republican Party. Finally, I'd just like to say, in terms of the 2008 election, all the candidates who are in the theoretic top tier are seriously flawed, I believe, from a conservative perspective. And I particularly don't like Rudy Giuliani, and would think it was a great disaster if he were nominated by the Republican Party. And the greatest disaster, probably, of Rudy Giuliani nomination is that I think he would ensure the election of Hillary Clinton the presidency of the United States. And I do believe, although I agree with Richard, the conservatives are not going to take control of government, even if we could name exactly the person we want for president in 2008. But huge things are going to happen in this country in the 4 years following the 2008 election that you need to consider. First of all, no matter what you think about the Iraq War, the entire complexion and future of the Middle East can be dramatically changed for the worse, depending on how we get out of Iraq following the 2009 election. And I don't have confidence that any Democrat running for president is going to do it in such a way that they don't increase the negative impact on the interests of the United States, as opposed to diminish the negative impacts on the interests of the United States. Secondly, we have an octogenarian Supreme Court Justice in John Paul Stevens. Even Anton Scalia is 71. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is up there. Right now, there is an effective 5-4 liberal majority on the Supreme Court. There are many, many things conservatives have been fighting for literally since I was born that are going to be determined by the Supreme Court, and only determined correctly if we get at least one more conservative justice. If a Democrat, Hillary Clinton or any of those others, are elected president of the United States, there will be a liberal majority president of the Supreme Court for another generation that will wreak profound, destructive things on our society. So I'm completely against that. Third thing is there are huge domestic crises in the offing. Everybody's looking at these subprime mortgages and looking at lots of people going to lose their homes and go bankrupt. The American economy is heading towards a similar crisis with these entitlements that these socialist presidents like FDR and LBJ created and that George Bush made worse. And if those entitlements aren't dealt with in a pro-free market way, which the Democrats are never going to do, not only are we going to have an economic disaster, but we're going to continue this system that we've had ever since Roosevelt, where people are more and more dependent on the federal government. I think it's much more likely to have a Republican president that will go the right way on those things. So those are my thoughts, and thanks for listening to me.